Hello and welcome live from Channels Television's global headquarters in Lagos, Nigeria. You're watching Newsroom series. I'm Dominic Iwiwa, and today our focus will be Ondo Northwest. But before we get into that, let's have a snippet of our top stories making rounds at the moment. The Senate has received the 2026 statutory budget of the Federal Capital Territory Administration from President Bola Tinubu for consideration and approval. The letter convening the budget proposal was read today on the floor of the Senate by the Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio, during plenary following a 3-week recess for the budget defense exercise. In a separate correspondence, President Tinubu requested the Senate to confirm Mr. Taiwo Yedele as a minister. The request was subsequently referred to the Committee of the Whole for further legislative consideration. The Senate President also read another letter from the President seeking confirmation of Maina Sarah Ilo as the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigeria Anti-Doping Center. The nomination was referred to the Senate Committees on Narcotics and Drugs and Sports for joint screening. In addition, President Tinubu wrote requesting confirmation of a Magnus Abe as chairman of the Nigeria Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC, alongside 2 commissioner nominees. Another letter from the president sought confirmation of Mr. Francis Ifeanyi Sokwa as a commissioner representing the Southeast in a federal commission. The nomination was referred to the Senate's Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters for screening. The Senate also received requests by the President for confirmation of 2 nominees as commissioners of the Revenue, Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission. The nominees are Amina Gamawa from Bauchi State and Abdullahi Mokhtar from Kaduna State. All nominations were referred to the relevant committees for further legislative action and screening. Now to security issues. Police authorities in Ondo State have confirmed the arrest of one Abdullahi Lawal, identified as a suspected kidnapper in Aderoju camp in Ugbe Akoko in Akoko local government area of the state. Spokesperson of Ondo State Police Command DSP Abayomi Jimo made the disclosure in a statement he issued and made available to journalists in Akure, the state's capital, on Tuesday. The Police Public Relations Officer, Ondo State Command, in a statement confirms the arrest of the suspected kidnapper, one Abdullahi Lawal of Aderoju Camp, Ugbe Akoko Town, who has been identified as the mastermind of a kidnapping incident involving one Aremu Tijani that occurred on August 18, 2025 at the victim's bush farm in the Ikare Akoko axis. He notes that security operatives had engaged the kidnappers in a tactical operation which led to the neutralization of 3 members of the criminal gang, with 4 other suspects were arrested. However, the gang leader, Abdullahi Lawal, managed to escape from the scene at the time. Despite sustaining gunshot injuries during the encounter with police operatives, he reveals that police detectives in Ikare Akoko swung into action and succeeded in arresting the suspect, noting that he has made confessions to the police. And following ongoing investigation into the kidnapping and murder of His Royal Highness Eze Francis Igwe, the abducted traditional ruler of Ndufu Alike in Ikwo local government area, the police says it has arrested the mastermind of the incident. Eze Francis Igwe, the father of the immediate past Deputy Governor Kelechi Igwe, was on March 1, 2026 kidnapped on his way to church at Ndufu Alike. A press statement released on Tuesday by the police spokesperson SP Joshua Okando reveals that on March the 8th, 2026, operatives of the command arrested one of the suspects and alleged mastermind of the kidnapping and murder of the monarch, identified as Mwazunka Stephen, at his hideouts in Ikwo local government area after sustained surveillance and intelligence-led operations. He notes that the suspect has since provided useful information and is currently assisting the command in the ongoing investigation. Ukando added that on the 7th of March 2026, one of the suspects led operatives of the command attached to the anti-kidnapping squad to this hideout. During a search of the location, officers recovered 1 SMG rifle, 1 pump-action rifle, 3 locally made Beretta pistols, 11 rounds of 9mm live ammunition, 10 live cartridges, a machete, and a shovel, and assorted charms. The command assures the public that investigations are ongoing and all those connected to the crime will be apprehended and brought to justice. Suspected Lakurawa terrorists attacked and allegedly set ablaze a police station in Ilo town under Bagudu local government area of Kebbi state. According to local sources, the terrorists launched the attack in an attempt to free one of their members allegedly being detained at the police station. Reports indicated that the gunmen stormed the station late Sunday night, firing several gunshots before eventually setting the facility on fire. Sources said the attackers made away with an undisclosed quantity of ammunition from the station during the raid. It was also gathered that the assailants allegedly abducted a police officer who was on duty at the time of the attack. However, unconfirmed reports indicate that the terrorists succeeded in freeing the suspected bandits before setting the police station ablaze. Meanwhile, there were no immediate reports of casualties on either side following the attack, which reportedly went unchallenged as the officers were taken by surprise. The primate of the First African Church Mission Worldwide, Most Reverend Sunday Matilu Kuru, has expressed deep concern over the rising wave of insecurity across the country, calling on the federal government to intensify efforts in tackling banditry, kidnapping and terrorism. Speaking during a church gathering in Kaduna, the primate and other Christian leaders lamented the growing fear among citizens as cases of abduction, violent attacks and other criminal activities continue to threaten lives and livelihoods in several parts of the nation, particularly in the northern region.
It's a farewell visit by the primate of the First African Church Mission Worldwide to the Kaduna Archdiocese of the Church ahead of his retirement in September this year, having served 10 years as the head of the church, the oldest indigenous church founded by indigenous Africans on the 14th of August, 1891. Joining him on this visit is the Archbishop of the North Central Diocese, Reverend Israel Nunju, and Chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Kaduna State, Reverend Caleb Maji. The cleric uses the occasion to talk about the state of the nation, especially the increasing cases of banditry, kidnapping, and acts of terrorism affecting many communities in northern Nigeria, which he believes can be curbed with decisive action from the government.
It's a thing of serious concern because you are going out, you don't know what you will encounter on the road, you don't know whether you will return. What I will say is that the government should do more. They should vote more to security. And the president, who is the CNC, that is the commander-in-chief, must make sure that those he put into offices as the defense or whatever police, they do what they are supposed to do.
For other church leaders in attendance, unemployment, particularly among young people, are factors contributing to poverty and rising insecurity.
This administration, they are trying their best. But we pray that Almighty God should give them the courage and the strength to do more. Yes, to do more. All that they know that is needed for them to curtail this menace in this country, they should apply it. Even if it is to invite foreign hands to join them, let them do it so that our peace should return in our country.
We cannot deny this reality that Nigeria is faced with the challenge of insecurity, which is not deniable anywhere, anytime. It is not just particular in the north, but it is more intense in the north. This is very unfortunate, very, very sad, where many people are killed, people are taken and ransom is being paid, people are being impoverished because they have to sell their valuables in order to raise money. There's always been demanded for by the bandits. But this is very sad and unfortunate, just like I earlier said. But I know the government of the day inherited this problem, but they are working assiduously to address it.
While urging Nigerians to remain united and support the government's efforts to tackle insecurity, these religious leaders say addressing insecurity and unemployment simultaneously will play a crucial role in ensuring long-term stability and development in the country.
Now, people with special needs in Katsina State have decried neglect in policy formulation and other decision-making processes, both at the national, state and local government level. According to them, in most conflicts, violence and crisis, the women and the people with special needs are highly exposed to danger because of their disability.
Early warning and early response systems.
This is a two-day capacity building training on gender indicators monitoring and reporting for early warning and early response organized for women and people with special needs in Katsina State. The program, organized by the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution, IPCR, Strengthening Peace and Resilience in Nigeria Spring Project, with support from Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, FCDO, is coming at a time when women and people with special needs suffer marginalization whenever there is conflict.
The research has shown that over time, whenever there is conflict, these groups are mostly affected and they have limited skill, on what to do whenever there is conflict. So we are here basically in order to upscale their capacities and then also give them, the skill set on what to do whenever there is conflict.
Abubakar Dam Musa is one of the participants with special needs, and he laments that in most conflicts, people with special needs are mostly exposed to danger and are excluded from participating in decision-making process that affects them.
One day while we are returning from Dusima at around Birchi, these bandits stopped the way. All the people inside the car ran and left me alone. So you can see, people with disability, if there is this awareness and capacity building, so the first person to be evacuated or to be helped, I will be the one.
A cross-section of the participants, mostly selected from the conflict-prominent zones of the state, described the training as timely, pledging to disseminate what they have learned in their respective communities.
They are not being included in national plan, state plan, local government plan. Sometimes they are being regarded as they can contribute to the development of humanity because of their inability.
This training is really an enlightenment to someone like me. It made me know that when I see little signs, I should be able to take note of it and also report those signs so that they will not escalate to what we cannot control.
With this training, participants are equipped to be able to report early signs of conflict in their communities to either the security agencies as well as traditional and community leaders before the situation escalates to crisis level.
The Katsina State government says it's taking proactive measures to reduce mortality rate and manage the spread of Lassa fever and other epidemic-prone diseases, including cerebrospinal meningitis, diphtheria, mpox, measles, and cholera in the state. This follows the widespread of Lassa fever in most parts of the country, which mostly affects healthcare workers. The Executive Secretary of the State Primary Healthcare Agency, Dr. Shamsuddin Yahaya, disclosed this in an exclusive interview with Channels Television in his office at the agency, advising residents to maintain personal and environmental hygiene. He revealed that as of now, the state has recorded 6 suspected cases of Lassa fever alongside 1 confirmed death, which he said was diagnosed with post-mortem brought in from a neighboring state. He explained that the agency has, in response to this, conducted an active case search and contact tracing where it identified 15 contacts and have so far been doing well.
In Katsina State, we have been very proactive to ensure that we safeguard the health of the entire people of the state. We have the Emergency Operations Center that is domiciled here in the State Primary Healthcare Agency, and we develop what we call situational analysis. We work together with our development partners to look at the situation and ensure that we don't have spillage of this, and we keep track of what is happening in the country. We have various pillars working together to ensure that we manage and control the outbreak. And so far we have 6 suspected, cases of Lassa fever, and we recorded 1 confirmed death, which is, but it was diagnosed post-mortem, which was brought in from another, neighboring state. And because of that, we've been able to do active case search and contact tracing, and we have identified 15 contacts, and so far they have been doing well, and there is no any new or active case of the Lassa fever.
You're watching Newsroom series on Channels Television. Right after this break, we'll bring you more stories making the rounds within the region. Stay with us. Welcome back. Stakeholders in Zamfara State have raised fresh concerns over the worsening malnutrition crisis after new statistics showed a sharp rise in child malnutrition, which increased from 50.8% in 2018 to 64.2% in 2023. The alarming figures were highlighted during a media roundtable organized by the civil society Scaling Up Nutrition in Nigeria, which called on authorities and development partners to take urgent steps to address the growing public health challenge. Meanwhile, the Zamfara state government has commenced the statewide campaign for oral polio vaccination, following the confirmation of 4 new polio cases in 2 local government areas. The incident manager at the Zamfara State Polio Emergency Operations Center, Murtala Salahu, says more than 1.3 million children under the age of 5 are being targeted in the house-to-house immunization campaign across the state.
This roundtable discussion brings together members of the civil society Scaling Up Nutrition in Nigeria and other key stakeholders in health and social welfare to examine the worsening nutrition situation in the state and explore ways to strengthen advocacy and public awareness. Data from the National Demographic and Health Survey shows that stunting among children has surged from 50.8% in 2018 to 64.2% in 2023. Similarly, the proportion of underweight children has increased from 32.5% to 44.3%, while wasting remains a concern at about 5.3%.
The state government should also strengthen system, integrate nutrition services into primary health care, expand community management of acute malnutrition sites, ensure uninterrupted supplies of RUTF, that's ready-to-use therapeutic food, and multiple micronutrient supplements, and improve data systems for evidence-based decision-making.
Experts at the dialogue believe that the situation is driven by multiple factors, including food insecurity, poverty, insecurity-related displacement, and low exclusive breastfeeding rate, which currently stands at about 35%.
Ignorance, yes, cultural norms and belief actually makes most of these women think that, oh, that first milk that comes out from the breast milk is a dirty milk, and so women should not take it. But again, that is the most important breast milk for that child. It is a forced immunization for that child. And so you discover that most mothers discard this milk without giving. So these are things that we need to use our platform to educate them.
However, experts warn that addressing the crisis will require tackling the root causes, including food insecurity, poverty, low public awareness, and weak access to nutrition and healthcare services.
I think what causes all this malnutrition, number one, is lack of awareness, because the caregivers do not have proper awareness and education on this malnutrition. And triple trajectory of poverty is one of the key fundamental factors that causes this malnutrition. And even, let's say, food insecurity is one of the major contributing factors. Then the last one is the health and morbidity cases.
In a related development, the Zamfara state government has commenced a statewide campaign for oral polio vaccination following the confirmation of 4 new polio cases in parts of the state. The vaccination exercise became an emergency situation after the state recorded 4 new cases of polio in 2 local government areas, prompting an urgent response by health authorities.
Zamfara State has strategically posted itself where we have our people around all the settlements, all the wards, all the LGEs, to ensure that we strategically break the transmission of the polio virus in Zamfara State.
The statewide polio immunization campaign in Zamfara is scheduled to run from March the 7th to March the 13th, 2026.
The Zamfara State Command of the Niger Police Force, through the Police Officers' Wives Association, POA, has joined the global community in celebrating International Women's Day, recognizing the strength and contributions of women in society. To commemorate the day, members of POA organized a rally across major streets in Gusau metropolis under the theme, Give to Gain. Speaking during the event, the chairperson of the POA in Zamfara State, Asamau Ibrahim Maikaba, represented by Josephine Albert, urged women to remain steadfast, hardworking and supportive of their families and communities. She stressed that women play a critical role in strengthening society and encouraged them to continue showing compassion and solidarity, particularly towards families affected by the sacrifices of police officers serving the nation. The United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, has held a podcast for young girls in the Northwest tagged Yes Girl Project to commemorate this year's International Women's Day with the theme Rights, Justice and Action for All Women and Girls. The podcast is aimed at encouraging girls to learn, grow, dream and say yes to their power.
What's important it's that time of the year where people across the globe celebrate women and girls.
Situations where even if this girl tries to speak up, because when you actually do speak about issues like this the scenario you mentioned, it tends to stain the image of the family.
In Kano State, northwest Nigeria, UNICEF put together a podcast for young girls titled Yes Girl in commemoration of the International Women's Day. Participants are drawn from different secondary schools across the Kano metropolis, where they are taught to believe in their voice as a superpower to become problem solvers in their society.
Today I learned that no matter what, we can do it. We can do it. There's no obstacle can stop us. We have to be confident. We should believe in ourselves, and we should also relate with each other. We should talk to each other no matter what. Most girls don't used to speak up for themselves. It's like they used to hide, unlike the guys that whatever it is that they want, they used to share it with their peers. Not even their peers, they used to share it around the world and everything. But girls, they are not even given that opportunity to do that actually. So I think that creates fear in them and they lost confidence. They don't have that confidence to boldly say what they want, and they don't believe in themselves that they can achieve that thing. But today, I've learned that speaking up for yourself can actually do a lot of things for you.
UNICEF notes that when the girl child has a voice, she can become whatever she chooses to be.
It's a podcast that has provided a platform for adolescent girls to speak to themselves, but also it was designed by adolescent girls, highlighting issues that they are very particular about, issues around education, the dropout rate, issues around mental health, issues around menstrual health, as well as issues around the HPV vaccine uptake, and issues around access to leadership opportunities.
They are hopeful that the government will address some of the issues raised during the podcast, issues that this year's theme, Give to Gain and Rights, Justice, Action, is using to accelerate gender equality.
That as they have mentioned issues around the rate of education dropouts in the Northwest, that government would also take this very seriously and respond appropriately to some of the issues they've highlighted today.
The Yes Girl Project by United Nations Children's Fund believes that every girl child needs to be educated, supported and encouraged to have a voice, big dreams, and break barriers that limit them.
Now, student leaders in Kebbi State have expressed appreciation to Governor Nasir Idris for donating Ramadan palliatives to support the student community in the state. The commendation came during the distribution of bags of rice to student leaders in Birnin Kebbi by the Special Advisor to the Governor on Students' Affairs, Majo Muhammad. Majo thanked Governor Nasir Idris for extending his humanitarian gesture to students, noting that the initiative reflects the governor's inclusive and people-oriented style of leadership. He explained that the intervention aligns with the governor's campaign promise to run a government that prioritizes the welfare of all segments of society, particularly young people and students.
Since inception, there has never been a government that looks at the angle of student categorically during this blessed month of Ramadan, thinking that there are students that stay at the hostel. There are students that has left their parent and they are there in school right now, thinking on how they can afford a 1 or 2 square meals to break their fast. His Excellency, in his own wisdom and the ways of thinking, he thought of them and he did not forget them, and he made a provision for them. And we want to assure him that his provision will reach out to them, inshallah.
And that's where we'll drop the curtains on this edition of Newsroom series. I'm Dominic Ibiwu. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.